Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode in Behind the Post. What the heck is this? So, well, first of all, apologies for any unprofessionalism that you're going to see on the screen because I'm just trying this out for the first time. I'm trying a new setup, so I don't even know if it's going to work. The whole purpose of this was just to make it. It's a lazy. Okay, I'm going to be really honest. It's a lazy way of me of doing a long format video that is just showing an extended version or just sort of going into the depth of what happened on specific posts. So what's happening at the moment is I make all these posts on Instagram and occasionally it gets posted here on YouTube or Spotify or well, not on Spotify, but yeah, it gets sort of posted on other social media platforms, TikTok as well. And they're just sort of nice and short. They're sort of like 30 seconds, maybe a minute, that length of time, and then I put it out there and it gets success. And the idea that I've always wanted to do is I would then do a longer format video that goes into a bit more detail. The problem is that they are kind of nice and concise. And because they're so concise, it's a little bit difficult to turn them into a long format video. And it's a bit difficult for me to think, okay, what extra value am I bringing to it? On some things like races, it makes sense. But on some of these posts, I don't think it makes sense to do anything. But I do want to tell the story behind it and maybe tell you how I filmed it, sort of the thoughts that went behind it, the success or failure of it, and any follow up or any really backstory that I think is worthwhile, might be interesting to have. So that's what this is all about. And today is perhaps the biggest one of my social media influencing career, which is the first time I went viral. So back in, was it February? We had carnival here in the Netherlands, whereas throughout the world you have the sort of carnival scenarios, and they also have these things called optocht. For the people that don't know about it, think of it a bit like the sort of in Rio, the parade, the carnival, great big carnival they have, and it's basically a parade with all these floats, and the Dutch go full in as well on it, even though it's cold weather. They kind of go full on with it, and I did this one video, the very first one. So they have different days, parades on different days in different cities, and I did the first one in Eindhoven, and the video went viral. Suddenly it's 2.1, I think, at the moment on Instagram, and in total it was around 3 million throughout all the social media platforms, whether that's Facebook and also TikTok. It just took off. Never had that before. And the coolest thing that actually happened was because it was a post that I did for as part of my sponsorship deal with Statiegeld Nederland and Verpakt. So they got me involved in this, and I said, look, it's gone viral, got like 2 million on Instagram, and their email back to me was just the best email I've ever had. It simply said, did you pay for those views? I was like, oh my God, this is so. I replied to them and said, this is the coolest thing that anyone has ever said to me or asked me. Did I pay for those views? No, it is completely organic. It happened by chance. It just caught the imagination. And I think I know sort of the reason why. And it was just so fantastic. So what I'm going to do is play the clip, and then I'll just keep on stopping it and talking about what happened in that clip, how it happened, etc. But to kick it off, I actually want to go back to the reason, sort of the very first one we did. So last year, so go back to the year before, and we did the same thing. So again with Statiegeld, and with the Groene Lobby, they sort of, who are also another sponsor of mine, they were sort of working for Statiegeld as well. And they set this up, and I said, I came along to join for one, and it was so much fun. I said, I've got to do this again. And we had a bit of success with it. So let me just play that one. So this was last year's clip. So this one was in the Optocht in Oldenzaal, and you can see it was quite a basic setup here, but you can see sort of the beginnings of it. So what happened was, let me just pause it there. So the whole purpose of this was we, Static Held, set up that they would be part of the sweeper vans that were coming around. So this parade goes through these towns, and yeah, it's a big party. It is so fantastic, so much energy, and all of these different floats are going past. Now, we're not part of the parade officially. We actually go behind the very last one. We're just there in the sweepers, just tidying up things. But Static Held, I don't know the story of why they set this up, but they created this scenario where they've got, you can see it just here, the little truck type thing that is just pulling a trailer, and I'm sat in the trailer, and you can see the helpers as well. Static Held have different volunteers that are also helping up, collecting cans and bottles that have the deposit on them. We could collect it, and then we could donate it back to the organization. So it's all donated, all the money gets donated. And so that was the idea behind it. And it was just a basic setup, just a trailer pushing along, nothing too glamorous. It did have some banners on the side, but as we sort of go through, you can sort of see that already here, you can see how many cans were being collected. It was just incredible. And alongside that as well, you've got all these kids going around hunting for cans, and all the deposit system hunters that go around. They were doing it as well, but we were just collecting this in, and I was trying to encourage them. It wasn't even intended for me to stand in the wagon, but I went, oh look. I was originally just going to walk. That was the original plan, was just to walk alongside and just get them, and then we just collected and put them in the truck, in the trailer. I just thought, why don't, it's going really slow. Why don't I just stand up in that and then just try and encourage people to sort of throw the cans in the bag, and it worked out really well. So let's just carry on with that. So you can see that, oh, there was a banana as well. So it just worked out. And you can see there the truck, and that was just me at the end, just leaving. You can see how much stuff was there. If I just go back a little bit, and let me just find another point. Yeah, so there you go. So you can sort of see the setup there. You can see the little, I don't even know what they're called, those little tractor typey things. So that was just pulling it along. Just a very simple setup. There was just a little banner. We had these sort of bags that you could throw in, and we had sort of people walking alongside in the Static Held jackets, just trying to encourage them. And it worked out really well. I filmed this all on my 360 camera with the 3-meter extension. So that's how I sort of filmed it. So it's all just me filming it, just trying to encourage them. The best thing here was, I turned up in my banana suit. Carnival is such a big event. Everyone gets dressed up, really fantastic outfits. I turn up in my banana suit that everyone's used to, and they just look at me and they go, oh, you didn't put much effort into it, did you? You just got a regular banana suit. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to this place. And, normally I look like the biggest idiot. Now I look like the saddest idiot because I was just dressed up in a regular banana suit. So I thought, oh, I've got to make more effort into it. So when I got the new Patagonia outfit, I was like thinking, this is just because it's all checkered. It is such a perfect banana suit for the carnival. I thought, oh, I've got to do this. And it was such a great success. I think in total, what happened was I think we got 80 on TikTok. We got 80K of views. For me, that's huge. So on TikTok, we've got loads, but yeah, we've got way less than that on Instagram. It's around 10K. But I already had this idea of, hey, this is something that the audience really love. So that was last year, and that was the seed for this year. So Static Held and the Chronology, we all sort of said, okay, what can we do? So the idea was to do 3 this year. So we're going to start off with the very first one on the Saturday, which was in Eindhoven. And then what we do is then go to Tilburg on the next day, on the Sunday. So those 2 in the weekend. And then on the Monday, we do Den Bosch. So each optocht is different. Each optocht gets a little bit crazy. But the one that went viral was the very first one. It just kicked off. So let's have a look at that one. So here we go. Which I can't even remember which one it was now. It was Lumbercut. so, so you can see a completely different setup now that they had. So instead of just having the banner along the bottom, they'd set it up so they've got a big banner in the middle that has got each one was done separately for each one. So you can see here Lumbercut. So for those that don't know the city, so this was Eindhoven, they changed their name to a carnival name during the carnival. So that's the reason why it's called that. It doesn't say Eindhoven. And it's just basically saying on there that all the cans and the bottles get donated to the organization or to the charity of the organization that they want us to do. So this went to Stichting Zonder Dak, so without a roof. So that was the organization we were sort of collecting this for. And you can see already there's a huge pile of cans. And so we've got actually a different setup straight away. We've got I'm on one side, and then we've got another person on the other side just trying to collect the cans, encourage them. And I thought, before we actually went to this one, I was like thinking, okay, what worked well last year? Yeah, it was like them throwing. It really got a lot of engagement. Them throwing the cans and the bottles, the empty bottles and empty cans. More on that in a second. Throwing them at me. So let's make it like there's a target other than myself that they can throw to. So what you can actually see in the little corner there's a little basketball hoop. I don't know why I came up with that idea, but just the day before I went, if I had like a little basketball thing, then I can make it that they actually sort of try and throw the can into there. And it was brilliant. There's a couple of tweaks that we need to make. One of the problems I have is it's a little bit too high up, which means that sometimes they were throwing the empty cans over the top. Luckily, there was no one hurt or anything like that. But you do need to be. One of the lessons I've learned from this is we need to be a little bit more careful, safety wise. Just because if people are throwing it, then we need to be a bit careful. I did get hit with a full can of beer on the head, so when you see me wearing glasses, that means I think I'm in a dangerous situation. So I put sunglasses on. Most of the time I didn't need to, but when it got really busy, I did just for a little bit of safety. So the basketball net was just me improvising the day before. I went to Action and I just bought this basketball hoop for €10. And then I actually put some Staatsheld logos on it as well, just to make it themed in there. So it looked like it was part of the whole thing. Worked brilliantly. Everyone was so enthusiastic about throwing it into the net that I think that is the main reason why it went a little bit more viral, because it was suddenly, instead of just throwing cans at the idiot in the banana suit, they were throwing cans into the basketball hoop, and you can see the people were having a lot of fun, and it really got a lot of momentum from people at the carnival as well, wanting to do that. So that was fantastic. But I think there's another reason why it went viral. But anyway, let's just carry on. So we're in Eindhoven. You can see it's a completely different setup. They've really gone out. They've got flags as well and everything. Let's carry on. Yeah. So there you go. So you can see there, if I caught one, I could just sort of just chuck it in there. It didn't take very long for people to see what was going on and get excited by it. So, and as soon as one threw it in, then people were seeing it, and then they were just sort of throwing in as well. Yeah, so just catching it, that was just so much fun, just sort of catching it. Most of the time I missed. This one's right at the beginning, because see, there's hardly any sort of cans. This is all recorded again on the Insta360. So what I've got it on a long pole, but I've also got it with a sort of a tripod base. So here it's just standing up next to me. So all of it is just filmed on that camera with just me on my own. So you can see it's right at the start, only a few cans in there, just having a bit of fun. Kids were absolutely loving it. There we go. I think this is the reason why it went viral. I think it could have gone even more viral if I'd have put that right at the beginning. This was just brilliant. It was just this little kid wanted to sort of throw into the basketball hoop and then just completely missed and just hit me. And you can't hear it on this, but the kid starts laughing, and they were sort of loving it. So I think one of the reasons why it got attention is like because of this kid. This kid actually sort of made it. Luckily, you can't see their face. If I'd have shown, if it had shown the kid's face, I wouldn't have been able to share this reel. But luckily, it's just showing it in the background. So I had to sort of be a little bit careful with the faces, obviously, of the kids, etc. But it was in this case, it was fine. And also it's a low res as well, so you can't really make out the kids, so I think it's okay. Yeah, so I'll put a link in the description because the kids laugh is just brilliant. Is just I'll turn it up a little bit so you can sort of hear it. So let's just turn up the volume on this, so it's going to get a little bit loud, but then you hear the kid laughing. It's just brilliant. The kid loved it. I think the parents were a little bit mortified, but they loved it. And yeah, you can really sort of see how the kids were just sort of loving it, just sort of doing it. And the parents were sort of loving it. So you can see there, everyone's just joining in. And it really was building up a huge amount of cans. It really just caught their imagination. So let's just carry it. I think it was probably, what we need to do next year is to get real official totals of the number of cans and the donations we collected. So it was in the hundreds. Yeah, it was in sort of maybe sort of 300-400 euros. So we're not talking a huge amount on this and the whole thing. But then the next day went crazy, and I think that was probably closer to 1,000. But we need to get official totals so they can see exactly how much we sort of donated. But that's one of the things that we need to sort of improve on. Yeah, and then just on that bit, you can see they're just throwing everything at me, just crazy. Yeah, it was a lot of fun dodging all of the. Oh, we're playing from the start again. We're just dodging all of the cans. It was just so much fun. Sometimes, because there are a lot of people who are just drunk, to be perfectly honest, it was. They were throwing everything. We were trying to get them to only give us cans and bottles that had deposit on them, but we were getting all the trash as well. So that was a little bit of thing they had to sort of do. But yeah, you can see there's loads of cans and everything. So that was the first day, and so it just. I posted it quite quickly. I think that really helped as well. So timing and everything. But then I woke up the next day and I was like, oh, this is getting crazy. So my goal, going back to what sort of the goals were, I was like thinking, we got kind of, last year we got 80,000 on TikTok. If I can break 100,000 on TikTok, maybe I can get 30, 40. I was like thinking, it's going to be something along those lines. And we end up with 2.1 million views and almost 2.2 now. It keeps on sort of, people still keep on watching it. So it was just incredible. And throughout the day, I was getting these updates on the next day when we're in Krakowstadt, when we're in Tilburg. I'm getting these updates of how it's going viral, it's going viral. And my contact at Staatssiegeld, who's in effect sort of manages me as a sponsored athlete, well, I am a sponsored athlete, but I wouldn't say for what I do with them is as an athlete, but as a sponsored person, the person that manages, they were actually on holiday. So I was messaging them on their work phone and they weren't getting anything through. So they had no clue. The other thing that was super cool about that was I invited Staatssiegeld as a collaborator on the post, but because she wasn't around, that it never happened. They never sort of took it on. So I think we need to sort of change that, get Staatssiegeld on there as well. Maybe it wouldn't have gone viral if they saw that it was with Staatssiegeld Nederland, but so it was literally just my account that it was on. They were obviously tagged though still. So yeah, just incredible. It just kept on growing and growing. And what was truly amazing was the reactions we were getting. And I think, and it was growing bigger on Instagram than it was on TikTok. And normally if I get a good success, it's always on TikTok. I've got more chance of something going viral on TikTok than I have on on Instagram, it has a nice steady growth, but here it just blew up. And it was, I think it was, you saw that in the comments. So if you look at the post, the link is in below in the description, and you look at the comments, a lot of people like going, yeah, money, things like that. They didn't really understand it was all being donated, but others were people going, why, we need to have this at our carnival. We need to have this to really engage with the people, to get money back for charity and things. So what you saw was it was getting traction in Germany, in Europe, even Brazil were coming back. Like, what a brilliant idea. We need to do this as well. So I think that was one of the reasons why it helped, is because people were connecting to their city that has a carnival and has a parade like this, of like, we need to do this as well, just to sort of engage with it. I'm not sure whether, whatever formula it would go, but it was just, sort of true, just so wonderful how it kicked off. So it went viral. What is true is brilliant to see as an influencer, or as interesting for me, is, okay, so I got this viral hit, and it really showed me how sort of the algorithm, everyone talks about the algorithms and how they work, how they don't work. What was really interesting was Instagram keeps you humble, because, so one of the reasons why it went viral was because Instagram saw it was getting traction, and they promote it more because they want to have as many videos going viral as they can to keep interest up. So they saw it was going viral, so they promote it more, and it was just kept on growing like that. It was just because Instagram was seeing a benefit for themselves. The next day, it ended, the next day ended up in something like 20,000. So it went from 2.1 million to 20,000. Yeah. So it's like they are really, whereas Instagram used to be very much community based, it's now turning very much more like TikTok, less so than TikTok. TikTok is just crazy. You'll either end up with 230 views, 70 views, or 700,000 views. It kind of, they have these staggered limits. So they go, all right, did it get to that next level? All right, let's push it to the next level. Oh, let's push it to the next level. Instagram seems to be a little, the algorithm seems to be different. I'm not professing to be a person that knows about it, but it was really interesting to see how it was like one hit wonder. It just grew and grew and grew, but then the next day, you're back to square one, or you're close to square one. So it went down to sort of 20,000 the next day, and then the day after that it went even lower to 10,000. So it just went back to normal. So you've got no chance of saying, right, I've made it. No, you're only as good as your last viral one. And one thing I would say on that, though, is does seem like maybe the weighting, it does remember. So if it sees something I do as getting some traction, I think they promote it. They're more willing to promote it, or the algorithm is more willing to promote it. So whereas before this, I would, if I had a really good, let's say, hit, if I had a really good one that got a lot of traction, it might be around the 10,000, maybe 20,000 if I was super lucky. But now what you see is it's easier for me to get 100,000. It's not happening with many posts, but if one does take off, they're more willing to promote it. They kind of go, oh, he's got a track record of having a hit. Let's see if this one does it as well. So I don't know how long that waiting will apply for. Maybe it's sort of like 3 months. If something happens, then great. If not, then you're back to square one. So it'd be interesting to see how that happens. But yeah, there was a residual benefit for me, but there wasn't a constant and immediate and long lasting benefit. It lasted as long as that one posted. So let's have a look at the other ones as well. So this was the next day. So, I mean, they were basically more of the same. You can sort of see here, the weather was a bit sort of different. Some people were coming up to me and go, hey, I saw you I saw the video from yesterday. So there were people throughout the whole time that were coming up and going, oh, yeah, I saw you. Or we were there, we saw you as well. You can see how look how crazy. Let me just stop there because it is just crazy. Look at the numbers of people that were behind us. It was just so crazy. That's a Sunday, the day before the the last day of the weekend, and it went wild. It was just standstill for so much of the time. There was a little bit more danger, shall we say, because of that numbers and people were throwing. One of the things we've had a bit of a sort of a talk about, okay, what do we do next year? Because we definitely want to do it next year. What do we do to make it a little bit safer? So we need to make a little bit of a safety net around so that it's less easy to throw it, to miss the truck, as it were. And also the height of things need to go down, maybe a little bit more safety for the people in the trailer like myself. So we've got a few ideas that should make it to take it to the next level for next year. Let's see how that goes. But it was just intense. There is one clip, I'm not sure, I don't think it's on here. You can see the number of cans flying in. It's just, and you can actually see there, that can there is about to go over. So there is a good example of going out. So we just want to have sort of netting that goes around, and then I think that will make it a little bit better. So if I go to the last day then. Little kids coming up and everything. You just see how much they were loving it. It really did just drive their imagination and have a bit of fun with the audience and things. So, and again, 360 camera. Oh, there we go. That's what I wanted to sort of show. Yeah, people like they're just on the balconies outside their house. And they were just, this one we were standing still, and they just kept on bringing out cans. There were different people coming to the window and trying it and trying to get it into the net. So we just need to make sure it's a little bit safer for the next one. But luckily nothing bad happened or anything along those lines. But yeah, it was just so much fun. So you can see there, we had a little bit of a competition on the last day. So I'm there on my own, and then we've got two people on the other side trying to beat me to see who got the most score. I got the most on the first day. I lost on the second day to one of my sort of colleagues and friends, Quentin. So he did beat me on that next day in terms of getting stuff. It very much depends what side you're on. As to who wins. If you get the good side, then it makes a big difference. So you only won because you chose the good side, Quentin. They chose the good side as well, but I'm still claiming the win because there was two of them. There was two of them ganging up against me. You can actually see one of the problems we had with that last day is you can see we've got on that, there's a huge truck that's pulling us. So what they've got is on that truck is actually an electric car that pushes you. So for Den Bosch, they've got restrictions in terms of for sustainability, in terms of they don't want diesel trucks and things like that, or tractors pulling things. So they've got these little buggy things that pull. They've got a lot of power on them. Unfortunately, ours broke down, and a few of them did break down. It was really bad weather, so I think it was part because of that. But yeah, sometimes sustainability causes more problems. So it wasn't as successful as the other 2 days, mainly because there were loads of problems. So I think people were bored and going home by the time that we managed to sort of get to them on the parade. But it was still great fun. And that's the team. So that was the team for the last day. So you can see, all of these people sort of came to help. They're all sort of just hired in for the day, and just had so much fun. Such a great group of people. Loved it. So that's how I went viral. It was just such a. It is so cool. For me, it has a huge benefit because now at the top of my Instagram, you can see that he has got that viral potential. the chances of it happening again is just ridiculous. Is ridiculously low, but there is potential there, and you can see that these kind of things get more engagement. Me just running around in a banana suit gets some nice engagement, but it's only when it has something that is a festival like that has a lot of attention that really gets that kind of traction. So it wasn't really anything I did. It was just me being in the right place at the right time, getting out at the right time, and the kid throwing a can at me. I think that's the reason why it happened. So that's my story of behind the post. I'm not sure if this is going to work or not. It was very raw and fuzzy of just me just chatting through how it did. What I want to do is really talk more about maybe how I edit the post. Just a brief one on that maybe is, I'll go through it in more detail in other posts about sort of the thought processes, because some people are interested in, well, what cameras do I use, how do I edit it, and things like that. So I can talk more about that in subsequent posts. But just let me know what you think. Is this worthwhile? Is this enjoyable? Is it just me rambling through telling stories that no one's interested in? I will do a couple more just to see if I can find my feet and find the setting, but hopefully you enjoyed it. Anyway, that's it. My name is Paul. This is very much my way of life. I'll speak to you in the next Behind the Post episode.